Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How is things in your world? How's life where you are? Please tell me in the comments below. Yesterday I shared with you my little side project I've been working on, and told you a little bit about it and where it's going to go and what it's going to do, and there was a significant amount of interest, which is cool. I really appreciate that. So I want to tell you a little bit more about it. Most of it exists in this notebook, but there's code, obviously, and why I'm doing things the way I'm doing things. First of all, building any product, not necessarily a tech product, but just any product in general, the stuff I've tried to sell on Etsy, the t-shirts I used to try to sell that I screen printed, furniture that I've made for people, other websites that I've designed, code that I've written, art, these videos, anything like this that you try to generate a product and make revenue from that product, it's very likely that you will have elevated expectations for that product before going in. And it requires a lot of work to get the product from where you conceptualize it to where it is actually in the hands of somebody else and they're appreciating it. And it's no different with something like this. This exists as a bunch of notes in a notebook that I've scribbled. There's there's printed out ideas here. I put sticky notes in my notebooks. People laughed at me on Twitter for this. I'll show you some pictures of this here in a minute, but just so you can see kind of how my brain works. But all these things ultimately come down to, do you have something that anybody else is willing to use or pay money for? And the approach that I've taken with this particular piece of software is not that I'm trying to build something for somebody else. I don't know that there is a market for this type of software. There's already so many other pieces of software on the market that do what this piece does. I'm not sure that I have no aspirations for this. What I have is a domain that I paid $10 for, sitting on a shared server that I have unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited everything on. So why not use it for my own personal needs? And if somebody else gets value out of it, great. That's what I'm doing. All right. Could this become a potential business? Yeah, sure. Anything that I do could become a potential business. But I'm not putting my energy into this as if it were going to be something I see a future for. I see a future for it, for me. I see a reason for me to use it. And hopefully that means that if I have a need for it, somebody else has a need for it. And if I can figure out a way to give them what they need at a reasonable price, then I might be able to turn this into a business. But there's lots of reasonable price software out there in this space. You look... I haven't used any of them. I did some Googling and found Zoho, for instance. Zoho seems to be a very, very, very popular piece of software that's doing almost the same thing. Just looking at their screenshots and stuff, I haven't actually tried it because it's expensive. It doesn't seem to do anything magical. So I don't know. They have a market. They found a market. And like everything, the hardest part about doing this is finding a market. So let me show you a few pictures from my notebook, just so you can see the kind of stuff that I think of, the kind of stuff that I come up with, the kind of stuff that I... This is how things work. This was the beginning. This is, first of all, the domain name. A big earmark here. I don't know what was on this. Let's not look at that. That was notes from a thing. So a big earmark says here's what I'm doing. It's activity reports like SID. SID was the original system that I created for my old company. I don't know what the heck this support thing is. This is showing my various table structures that I was thinking I would use, all the stuff that would be in there, stuff that could be null, stuff that couldn't be null. This was the very first sketch of what I started working on in the database. These are things that, This is a kind of a model of how I thought my structure was going to work out, where we'd have activities, they'd have projects based, project in that activity that could have tasks assigned to it. They'd have descriptions. These are, again, table layouts, what I was thinking. I'd have these generic sets of MySQL columns, always have an ID, always have a created date. Is active is the way that I determine whether something is current or deleted, basically soft deletes, but I do it myself. Edit who last edited, who last updated. Those are generic fields that go on all of my tables. Update, this is the project it's assigned to, that sort of stuff. No clue what this sticky note that received emails about. Over here I have task levels. See, this is just kind of scattered. Task levels tells me whether somebody can edit, delete, look at, update, whatever, a task. That's all goes into one of the, here's me doing, here's a join Venn diagram because I was learning SQL joins properly. Here is user levels, 0 to 9 being a guest and 10 to 19 being users. I usually do my user levels manually. I'm not using frameworks here. This is just something that I'm doing on my own in my own code. And so I do my user levels in 10-digit blocks so that I have some lateral ability to move around in that 10 digits. Here is a kind of a flow chart, I think, of what I imagined things being, between updates and tasks and how they were all tied together and who they could be tied to, departments and organizations, users being at the bottom of that. Basic stuff. And I have this one note down here. This is kind of an important note that says I need to check ownership at all levels. And what it means is a lot of my software, because it's an internal use only software, I'm not really worried about people trying to do shady things. So I don't really do any validation to say, does this user actually have the right to be here? So I'm trying to build that into that. So all that being said is this is me brainstorming. These are days and days and days of me brainstorming. Here's a picture of some simple layout ideas that I had, which I have since realized this is basically exactly what it looks like now. But the main thing is, what I wanted to tell you is this is phase one. Phase one I have written down here. I see this project developing in 3 phases. And phase one is the initial phase when I start to ask for people to beta test. And there's still a whole lot to do in phase one. I'm probably, after tonight's code, maybe 70% of the way there. But phase one is having the ability for users to register and log in and self-maintain their passwords and all that stuff. Currently that doesn't exist because I have it turned off. It exists in code, but I've got to get a few things worked out because emails aren't working with my vendor, my host. So I've got to get that sorted. Once that's sorted and I'm ready, I'll turn registration on. Right now, if you register for the site, you can actually go to pepahana.com and register. It does nothing. I mean, it does something. It reserves your account, but you have no way of verifying your email or anything like that. It would be manually. I would have to go verify the account and send you an email saying, all right, you can use it now. So really what that means is whenever phase one goes live, when you register, you'll get an email. You have to click the link in the email and it'll validate the email and all that stuff, and then you can log in. It's basically like any other service, only I've written this all myself. I don't use any validation service or user management service. It's all code I wrote. Projects. So I want to be able to create and update and read, basic CRUD functions on some projects. That's already done. You can create, read, and update projects completely, whatever you want to do to them. I need to have tasks, which are projects that are assigned to projects. That's not done. I haven't even started that code yet. And updates on both of those things. I believe updates are going to be generic. They'll be just updates, and then they'll know who they belong to, so that I can do a little bit more data manipulation. So, and then reports. And reports is the main reason this thing exists, is so I can print a report that says, this is what I did for this week. But I also want it to be like, this is what I did on this project for this week, or this is what I did on these tasks for this week, or this is what I did globally for the week. I want it to be, I want a lot going on there. So this is phase one. This is what I'm working on right now, and I think I'm about 70% of the way there. Which is good, but I'm still a long way away. And phase 2 will be introducing invoicing. So clients, customers, your ownership information, asset tracking. I don't know if I'm going to include asset tracking at all. I'm probably just going to include item IDs so that you could put prices in my system and you could bill stuff. But I don't think I'm going to do asset tracking, at least not in phase 2. Phase 3 will be when I introduce the ability for teams to use this, so departments and agencies and all that sort of stuff, so that you can do team-based project tracking. And then phase 4 is everything that people ask for beyond that. And it's a long way to go. But the good news is I have a roadmap. This is not updated completely. There's more to go in this, but there is a roadmap, there's a plan, and I think that's a very important process for me, is to develop a plan like this. But again, I'm completely self-taught. This code that creates this is 100% mine. Like I don't use any external libraries or just what's included in PHP. And it's all written by me, all the login stuff, everything is my own stuff. So right or wrong, if it works, I'm successful, and if it doesn't, I'm to blame. But this is my process, and maybe that can give you some insight into how I do things, and maybe that can pique your interest. I don't know. Maybe we can just start a discussion about, Chevee, you're an idiot. Why are you doing it this way? I'm still very much a pen and paper person. I do have phone-based asset stuff, but this is the thing I look at, and it drives me nuts to look at so that I actually get the work done. When it's in my phone, I tend not to open it. But that's what I have for you today. I hope that was interesting. I hope that you get something out of this. I don't know what it would be, but that's what it is. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being my bestest friends. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from timeanddate.com. What year did Canada become a country? July 1st, 1867, Canada became a self-governing dominion of Great Britain and a federation of 4 provinces, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Ontario, and Quebec. The anniversary of this date was called Dominion Day until 1982.